Hello, welcome to this virtual cooking class. I am so excited to welcome you to this virtual cooking class tonight. So our cooking class tonight will be about holiday appetizers. I'm so excited to be with you, and let me know if you can see me well, hear me well. If you're watching live, let me know. If you're watching on replay, which is possible for the next couple of days, that would be awesome as well. Just put the hashtag replay. I'm open to questions, suggestions, and I really want your tips and ideas as well. Hello, Eileen. So my name is Charlotte Habegger. I am an Appetizers consultant. I'm also a director, and I'm here today with Nestle and her friends, and I'm excited to meet you virtually. I usually do cooking classes in people's homes, so we go to their home and we do a recipe together. I usually get them to cook, and we do recipes that take less than 15 minutes. I am also a scientist by training, so I have a little bit of a scientific mind in the way I go about cooking. It has to be quick, efficient, and toxin-free for sure. So hopefully that's what you're looking for. It has to be yummy too. Absolutely has to fit with the taste and interest of my family. So today a lot of our recipes are maybe cheesy and perhaps maybe not the ideal for some of the meal plans some of us are following, but it's a holiday theme, and I wanted to share some of my favorites. We'll be doing some others that are more within certain types of meal plans, but this one is all about the holidays. It's 3 appetizers that you can do in under 15 minutes, and I'm going to do all 3 in a very short amount of time. So I'd be happy to see if you have ideas. Oh, awesome. I'm glad to meet your sister-in-law, Nestle. So your ideas are welcome, your suggestions, your questions, and I hope that you can find ways to eat more simply, faster, and not have to put a lot of thought or reflection or energy or money into cooking. So let's get started. I'm going to prepare 3 recipes that are appetizers for the holidays. So one thing they have in common is bread and apples. I thought that was a really fun thing to mention and shows that you can make some yummy, pretty, tasty recipes with very simple ingredients. So to start, I'm going to make a brie. So I'm going to make, it's an oven baked cheese. You can use a microwave to do it, or you can use a regular oven. So in both cases, I'm going to suggest using a steamer. Of course, if you have a baker, that works as well. I mean, you can use anything you want, but as long as it goes in the microwave or the oven. I like the steamer because we use it for everything from soup to rice to tonight to make our oven baked cheese. So for the microwave, make sure you put the cover on. If you bake a brie in the oven, make sure you don't, if you make it in the microwave, don't do it more than like 30 seconds to a minute. That is not a good idea. If you make it in the, like just a minute is enough to cook cheese in the microwave, and you want to leave the cover on so it doesn't explode in your microwave, right? If you make it in the regular oven, you just want to heat up your oven, 350, and maybe about 5 to 10 minutes in the oven. So I wanted to show you in our steamer, so I won't need the cover for the regular oven. We have this little tray in there. You can make chips and all kinds of stuff with this in the microwave. I won't need it for today, but you could actually, especially for a holiday meal, you could have like a chicken on the bottom and your vegetables on top, or the opposite. But I'm not going to use it today, but there are so many ways to use this little tray that comes with the steamer. So I'm just going to make my brie in here. I bought a small one, so I got a small one. You could use a larger one, whichever one you like. If you want to keep its shape when you bake it, if you're not using the microwave, if you're using the regular oven, you can also wrap it with a little bit, like just a small amount of aluminum foil to make it keep its shape, because otherwise the inside is going to become liquid, so it could kind of, I guess, drip out, which I don't care. We eat it just the same. But if you wanted it to keep its shape, you could put aluminum foil around it. I'm just going to put it in my steamer directly. I'm just going to rise it so you can see it, hopefully, like that. Okay, so on top of the brie, I'm going to put some apple slices. So I'm just preparing 1/4 of an apple. You could put half of an apple, and I'm just going to cut my fourth of an apple, my very sharp ceramic knife, so careful here, into teeny tiny pieces, like really small cubes kind of, or slices. So if you like other types of fruit, you could put strawberry, cranberries. Also, if you don't like to mix, cheese with something sweet, you could just make it savory. You could do a whole, like a pesto cheese, or, so I'm going to put the apple pieces on top here. A little bit too, there we go. So the apple pieces are here. On top of that, I am going to add 2 of our dried fruit blends. So we have spice blends and we have fruit blends as well. So one of them is summer berry. It actually has dried fruit and organic cane sugar. If you put this in yogurt, like Greek yogurt, you'd have so much less sugar than in a regular strawberry yogurt when you buy it. I'm just going to sprinkle a bit on top of my brie. This is going to be yummy. If you don't have this mix, if you don't have it, or you can order it, of course. If you don't have it, you can actually simply use brown sugar. I'm also going to use another blend that we have that's called Tutti Frutti, which is very similar to summer berry. The difference is it's a superfood. It's superfood rich. So there's things like coconut, cranberry, different things that just have a lot of nutrition in them. So I'm going to sprinkle that on top as well. And this doesn't have any sugar in it. So one more thing I'm going to add on top is, if you have just cinnamon, plain cinnamon, or nutmeg, you could add that. I'm going to add something similar. It's our apple pie spice. Apple pie spice. Most of the cinnamon you buy in the stores is not real cinnamon. You can check it out online. This is it actually has real cinnamon, but it also has other spices that, it smells like apple pie, even though there's no apple in it. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit on top of my brie here. There you go. So one thing I forgot is make sure you poke holes in your brie so that when it goes in the oven, it doesn't like explode from the pressure. Just a couple holes so that also the the fruit mixes and all the sugar and whatever's in there is going to go into the little holes in the cheese. So you just poke. I just poke some little holes in here. I just need a sip of water. It's the cinnamon. It's kind of so I'm just going to check if I have any comments here. Yes, yummy, yummy, yummy. It's perfect. It's perfect for lazy people like me. So one thing I forgot is the maple syrup. Like I said, this isn't any of the meal pans. Some of us are far away, but maple syrup. There we go. And this is going to go in the oven for 5 to 10 minutes. In the regular oven, if you're doing it in the microwave, it would be like 30 seconds to a minute. And you'd leave the cover on in the microwave. So I'm just going to put it in the oven for 5 minutes. Now we're going to do the second recipe. I'm doing 3. I'm going fast because I want you to see that it's really quick. If you're watching on a replay, you can pause it and check what I'm doing, and also I can give you, I can share, if you have questions, you can let me know. So the second thing we're going to do is we're going to make a stuffing, but it's a special kind of stuffing because I said we're making appetizers, right? Well, did you know that with a muffin mold, you can actually make stuffing bites? So I'm going to make stuffing muffin bites. I'll show you what it looks like. So we have a mix called sage and apple. It smells very strong. Let me just see if I can show you this. There you go. Sage and apple. It's a stuffing mix. So you add bread that's been hardened a little bit. You add celery and apple to it. And then you add some broth to the whole thing, and it makes a stuffing. You could use it for your holiday meal. We could stuff vegetables with it. Today we're going to make stuffing bites that look like muffins. So first I'm going to mix the whole thing together. So to do that, I'm going to take a bowl. I would use my steamer to do this, to mix it up, but it's in the oven, right, with the brie. half of the recipe. I'm making half of the recipe. The recipe calls for 6 cups of cubes of bread. That's like stale, hardened bread. So I have 3 cups here. 3 cups because I'm making half of the recipe. Put it in my bowl. And then you need a cup of diced celery. But I'm making it with just half a cup because I'm doing half the recipe. So celery, diced celery, in the bowl. I know this doesn't sound very yummy so far. Bread and celery. Apples, a cup of apples. I'm using half a cup because I'm making half the recipe. And I can just follow the recipe. If you do not have this mix, okay? If you don't have this blend, you can use any other like blend that's very tasty, savory, tasty, maybe fine herbs or salty herbs. And you could also simply use salt, pepper, and garlic. Salt, pepper, and garlic works all the time. I'm going to use this. So the recipe calls for a tablespoon. Let me just check. 2 tablespoons. I'm going to put 1 tablespoon because I'm making half, right? Go. So the only other ingredient that we need is the broth. So the broth is what's going to make it all stick together. And with Appetizers we have beef broth mix. We have a chicken broth mix. The names have changed recently, so check them out. And we have our vegetable broth mix, which was what we use at home because we're vegetarian. So most of our products are vegetarian. I think like over 90%. And a good number of them are vegan as well. So to make your broth with Appetizers, with 3 kinds that we also have a faux broth, like an Asian type, noodle type broth. You take 1 teaspoon of the mix and you add a cup of hot water if you were going to drink it directly, or if you wanted to make a soup, and it has so little sodium that when you drink it the first time you're like, oh, this doesn't taste normal because there's the amount of sodium is the lowest I've found on the market. So 1 teaspoon of the broth mix, you make a whole cup with hot water of broth. So you can imagine how long this jar lasts. Like they're all very, very inexpensive because you make it yourself. It takes a couple minutes with all the different recipes, but they last forever. So, well, for a long time, not forever. So I'm going to prepare the broth in my shaker with 1 teaspoon of the broth mix. I'm going to add a cup of water. The water does not need to be hot because I'm going to cook it, right, with the sage and apple mix. So I don't need to use hot water. I'm not actually making broth to drink it right away. So I have a cup of water here in my shaker. I'm going to mix that up and pour it over the rest here. So, going to mix it up. So I have my cubed bread. I have 3 cups of cubed diced bread. I have half a cup of diced celery, half a cup of diced apple, with or without the peel. I have a cup of broth that was prepared. And I also have the apple and sage mix. I have some salt and pepper we could add if we want to. This is what it looks like. So colorful. So you could use it for an actual stuffing. But I'm going to bake it. Okay, I'm going to bake it on its own. And for that, I'm going to remove my BRIE from the oven and use the steamer. Okay? So we're in the middle of our second recipe here. We have one other one to go. So the BRIE is ready, but it looks like it's still whole, but inside is liquid. So we need to extract it gently, okay? Gently. I don't want to lose the whole thing. And I'm going to place it in a container so we can eat it later. Because we get to eat all the food from our cooking classes, right? That's what's so fun about it now. I miss not being able to see people, guys. And at the same time, it's fun because we get to eat all the food. And I get to meet people like you that I would have never met in an actual in-home cooking class. So thank you so much, Nestle, for this. So now I have my brie in a container. It's all ready to eat. I'm going to cover it up for later. So that one's ready. The brie with the apples and the fruit toppings are ready. Now I'm going to put the stuffing back in my steamer here. You can't see everything, sorry about that. So I'm going to put the, I don't know what I just said, but I'm going to say it again because I think I mixed up my words. I'm going to take the stuffing and put it in the steamer. I get a feeling I mixed up everything. And when I listen to the video later, I think I'm going to have a good laugh, okay? Hope you're following me. That's what matters, right? Okay. So I'm going to put the stuffing in the oven for 5 to 10 minutes. Actually, it's 10 minutes. If you are preparing the stuffing in the microwave, I think it's 5 minutes. If it's in the regular oven, it's 10 minutes. And that's because we're going to use it for a recipe. If you were actually making a Christmas dinner or whatever with turkey, you need to cook it longer. And I'm going to actually share that with you guys, the ones who followed online. I'll be sharing with you a guide to make your holiday meal easy and simple with about 6 recipes. So I'll share that with you afterwards. Yes, I missed the fact that you can't taste it. I know. If we were really organized, I could send you like samples to try while we're doing the cooking class. It's something we thought of doing. Or I could tell you what we'll be cooking, and we could all order it ahead of time instead of ordering after the cooking show. So, by the way, any orders go to Nestle. She'll be taking care of the orders today. She'll be our host, and I'll be posting that afterwards anyway, so you don't have to worry about that. And next thing is our third recipe here. Just clean up a bit. Our third recipe is like, it's like an Italian word, so I just want to check that I have the right. It's crostini. Crostini, have you heard of that? It's like toast, like mini pieces of toast made from baguettes. And you can use it to eat the brie on it. And we're going to make artichoke and pesto crostini. So we're going to use artichoke, we're going to use our pesto mix, and we're going to use some mayonnaise on top of a quick baguette toast to make crostinis, which is an awesome appetizer. If you don't have our pesto mix, we could make a bruschetta. We also have a bruschetta mix. If you don't have our bruschetta mix, bruschetta is simple to make because bruschetta, you can take half of a tomato, dice it, or canned tomato even, and you would add salt, pepper, garlic, and a little bit of olive oil and balsamic vinegar. That would be to make a bruschetta, and you could put that on the baguette toast we're going to make. I'm going to make the pesto version, pesto and artichoke version, but you could make another version and use the same concept. Use what you have at home. So we're going to use our baking sheet with our, I'm forgetting the name of this. It's actually, you can make rolled cakes, you know, with it. And I'm losing the name because I do this presentation in French and English and I just forgot. I often forget the names of things. I invent names for them. So this is like a baking mat. There's a better name for it. And then there's a baking sheet. So I use that. I don't need any oil for it. If you want to, because we're making fun Italian toast, we could add some oil just for the fun of making bread. Like you could use just some oil to brush it on the bread. I'm just going to use baguette. I'm making half of the recipe, so I'm going to make 6 little toasts. I'm going to make 6 small slices of the bread. So the full recipe is 12, and I'll be sharing that recipe with you later. There we go. So I'm going to put that on my baking sheet with the baking mat. Put that in the oven for 2 minutes. And I have 2 minutes to prepare the mix that's going to go on the bread. So the mix that's going to go on the bread is artichoke and pesto. I'm going to follow my recipe and I'll be sharing it with you later. So we have the artichoke. It's a can of artichoke hearts, 1 can. I'm using half a can because I'm making half a recipe. So I'm going to cut it up into small pieces here. You need a sharp knife because it's kind of not so easy to cut, okay? So remember, you can share your own ideas, your tips, how you would substitute it, you know, other things that are doable. So I have an artichoke here, half a can, which is about 2.5 artichoke hearts is half a can. So we're going to mix that up with mayonnaise and Parmesan cheese. Mayonnaise and Parmesan cheese. So it's going to be 1 tablespoon of mayonnaise and 1 tablespoon of Parmesan cheese. That's half the recipe. So if you're making the full recipe, you would double that. And I'm going to add that in. So I use a vegan mayonnaise from Hellmann's. Add 1 tablespoon of mayonnaise. Then 1 tablespoon of Parmesan cheese. Of course, you know, the kind of Parmesan cheese that you can get from the counter is much yummier than this. I just wanted to show you that you can use the commercial stuff, but if you can make, you know, grate your own Parmesan cheese, it's much, much yummier. Okay? We also have salt and pepper. Salt and pepper grinders that actually have sea salt and black pepper, which are really healthier than what we often get in stores and in restaurants. So we're almost done here. We have something missing, is the pesto mix. Like I said, we have a pesto mix, so you can actually make pesto, but I'm just going to use a teaspoon to put into our artichoke mix here. That's going to go on the crostini, which is the toast that's heating up in the oven here. Let's just keep this all organized so you can follow what I'm doing. There we go. So I'm going to mix this up a little bit with a smaller spoon. So I hope you're still following. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll check in a minute. And we're almost finished here. So I made a brie with fruit topping, toppers. I made a stuffing with bread, celery, apples, and our apple and sage stuffing mix. But you could also use other, almost any spice then would work. And this is the artichoke mayonnaise mix for the crostinis. So I'm going to remove them from the oven because they're probably ready now. These are my crostinis that are toasted. I'm going to add the artichoke mix, a spoonful, like a heaping spoonful on top of each little piece of bread, and that's going to go back into the oven and heat up for a couple minutes. And we'll be done in about like a minute or two. So thank you so much for following. If you're watching on replay, let me know. That's going back in the oven. I can show you what it looks like. And then it's going to go back in the oven for a couple minutes. I'm going to remove the stuffing because that's ready. And I have one more step with the stuffing. So I made the stuffing, a little celery string in there. You know how those are not fun. So I'd like to show you what the stuffing looks like. I'd leave it longer if I were baking like with turkey or whatever, but I'm going to do one more step. The one more step is that you can put this stuffing into a muffin mold. So you put it into a muffin mold, and then you put the muffin mold in the oven again, And so the stuffing ends up making little muffin-shaped stuffing bites. Super yummy. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. I prepared it a little bit ahead of time. So this is what it does. And then you cook it, and then you can actually remove a muffin that actually tastes like stuffing. So it's stuffing bites. That's why it's an appetizer. So our three appetizers for tonight are the BRIE that I put away and covered here. So we have the BRIE. We have the stuffing muffin bites. And then we have our crostini, pesto artichoke crostini. So awesome. Thank you for following this cooking class, and I look forward to seeing you for another one. If you have ideas, questions, and suggestions, let me know. There will be other posts on the group to know how to order, to know what our specials are, if you need information. And I'm very excited to have met you. So yes, a food shopper would be helpful. So have a great rest of your day, evening, and I look forward to seeing you on the, I said a group, but it's on the event. And thank you so much for attending, and thank you, Nestle, for hosting.